to welcome one of our very special guests today, Kendall Flutey. So Kendall, of course, was also one of our competition judges, but more importantly, she's the CEO of Banqer, which is a financial education platform that I'm sure many of you probably use or at least have heard of. And she's also a former Young New Zealander of the Year. So kia ora and welcome, Kendall. And you're here today to answer some questions from Kiwi kids.
Yeah, kia ora koutou, Kendall Flutey tōku ingoa. No, nai tahu nune ki wairā pohoki. It's awesome to be here today, and as founder of Banqer, talking about money with rangatahi and how we can better their futures is what I do day in and day out. So it's an absolute pleasure to be answering some money questions, some pātai putia.
We're stoked to have you here, Kendall. Thanks for joining us. So for anyone watching, if you do have a question for Kendall, feel free to pop it in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll try and pick up as many as I can. And in the meantime, I'll go off some of the questions that have been sent through to us on social media and via email. So the first question that I have for you, Kendall, what inspired you to start Banqer?
Oh, great question. I have to give credit where it's due. It was my 12-year-old brother who inspired the idea for Banqer. He was learning about money at his school with his teacher, and I had just retrained as a software developer, and I was looking for some kind of passion project, some side hustle that I could get behind just to hone my skills a little bit, because I'd actually learned about how to code in 9 weeks. So I thought, I could do with some practice here. And I went home to Ototahi, Christchurch, and he just had transformed from this kid that just talked about sports and WWE wrestling to someone who was asking me questions about tax, about being a CEO, all these awesome money, business-related questions. So I dug a little deeper and turned out, yes, he was buying into this learning about money at school thing, and I thought it would be awesome if more kids could have that experience. So, yeah, Geordie, my little brother.
It's amazing. And what is the most important money lesson that you've learned?
Oh, that's so tough. You can't pick one. It's like picking your favourite kid. I think something that's been important to me on my whole financial journey is realising that money is a tool, and it's something I can use in ways that better me, my whānau, my community. And something in particular, I think for me and for my friends and even my brothers, my siblings, is realizing that we don't have to compare ourselves to one another when it comes to money. It's so easy and tempting to do in this world of social media and sort of the society that wants you to have everything and do everything and be everything. But yeah, I think coming to terms with that and realizing that money is a tool for empowering my well-being has been really important as I've grown, and that's something I try and communicate with a lot of the rangatahi that I work with who think that they have to be something and they have to have a certain number of zeros in their bank account, but that's really not what money's all about.
Right, we've had a question come through. It says it is usually older people teaching youth about money. But I wonder if Kendall has observed something that youth can teach those older folks who often do the teaching about money.
What a great question. Yeah, and this is sort of what this competition's all about, right? And I think even being a judge of this competition, I've learnt things, or I've been reminded of things, or I've reflected things through the participants in the videos. I think there's something really special about being taught something by someone who's just learning and exploring a concept. They're often yet to be jaded by some of our life experiences. They have a really unique perspective. And when I think about rangatahi in today's context, they have, as I touched on earlier, they have so many pressures that we don't have, but they also see the world completely differently. So I do think that we can learn a lot from our rangatahi when it comes to money. Particularly, I will say, for the generation that I'm working with in schools and kura at the moment, there's a lot of generosity in that generation. And there's a lot packed into that, and we probably don't have time to unpack that today. But that's one thing I'm learning and listening to from this next generation.
What is the most popular lesson plan or module in the Banqer platform?
Cool. So we've got two platforms. We've got one for our primary and intermediate schools and one for our secondary schools. Secondary schools, I would say it is our share trading aspect of the platform. I think they really love that idea of being able to grow money, engage with the markets, and develop and hone their skills in real time. Obviously, our markets are all fictitious, so we have a few more drastic events than even the NZX would have seen over the last year. So really engaged with that. But I would say it's up to the individual at the same time. Like, our data can say on average it's share trading, but then we get really cool insights and feedback from students who are really into, taxes, or maybe they're just taken by the concept of personal risk insurance or whatever it may be. In the primary school space, I would say they're really into the transportation aspect of it. So being able to buy a car or a scooter or a bike to reduce their public transport fees. And if they buy the right kind of car, maybe going out and being a private driver, an Uber driver in the night times to earn a little bit of income. Again, all fictitious. We don't send out primary school kids in cars private driving. But again, there's so much to explore on the platform. And I think that comes back to life as well. Money, the success of money is not linear. It has many views, many faces, and that can show up in lots of different ways for every individual student that engages with our platform.
Oh, part of what you touched on there, I think, leads quite well into this question. What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency and the stock market?
Oh, curly ones. I was actually having this conversation yesterday with a couple of people. This is not financial advice. I think when I think about money and all the options we have to grow that money, it really comes back to you and your whānau, or whoever you consider in your monetary unit, right? And your risk preferences. And I was having this kōrero with someone about crypto and NFTs. And I think really anyone can do what they want with their money, so long as they feel educated, so that they're doing the research and they really understand the lay of the land, and they're not, using inappropriate sources as the only source of information. They feel capable, so they not only have the knowledge, they feel they have the behaviours and the abilities to act on that. And then they need to think about their risk profile and what they're potentially putting on the line. So for someone like me personally, I'm exploring a pretty mixed portfolio. So crypto is probably going to show up in that. So is investing in individual companies on the stock market. But for someone who has, a lower risk tolerance than me, then there's so many better alternatives than crypto or even individual shares. So it really comes down to the individual. I'm sorry that's such a sellout answer, but it does. It's such a personal thing.
What is the best money decision that you've ever made?
Oh, there's some obvious ones I can think of that I think are the kind of answer that is trying to be asked here, to the question that's trying to be asked here. But at the same time, I think some small times that I was generous and helped friends out that have now, snowballed into a really successful business or something like that are really meaningful to me as well. But one off the top of my head is I invested in a little known company back when I was an accounting student. It's an accounting software company. No one had really heard of it at the time. It was new to the NZX, called Xero. And I held onto those shares through my time at university. And I don't think I've told this story before, but it was actually that investment which allowed me to leave full-time employment with confidence, not with heaps of money, but with confidence that I could, sell those shares if I needed to and to start Banqer. So, I didn't have much money as a university student. I was working part-time at a petrol station, but I put that into Xero. So again, quite a high risk tolerance I have. And that paid off down the track.
When should parents start talking to their kids about money?
It really depends on, your culture, your values, what's appropriate to you. But I think the best stories I've heard and the best results I've seen And what I'm encouraging my sister to do with her kids and my niece and nephew is to talk to them as soon as they can comprehend these topics and ideas and concepts. So if a child, is capable of understanding and recognizing a coin, then that's a great time to start exploring coins and notes and physical, tangible money. If they are able to contribute around the house, it may be an awesome time to monetize some of those jobs if that works for your whānau. Maybe it's feeding the cat, maybe it's getting the dirty laundry, making your bed, whatever it may be that's outside of the realm of, just pitching in around the home. Start integrating it as early as possible, because sort of the last thing you want to do is have a child that's leaving the home and sit them down and have this big individual chat with them, offloading everything that could have really introduced in an experiential way as they've grown up. So it's a normalized part of what we talk about and what we do. But that said, it's never too late. So, if it's time for that big chat, that's great. I've got, 25-year-olds that I talk to that are just learning about money today, and that's awesome too.
Question from some students in Wellington. Do you have any pearls of wisdom for students wanting to become successful entrepreneurs like yourself?
Yep, sure. It's all so individual to the journey. So again, I'll share a little bit about my journey, and it may stick for the students out there, or it may feel like totally disconnected. I'd start by saying that success has many faces. It takes lots of shapes and forms. So I think how you define success is so important, and that should be your starting point, not what I've done or not what other people have perceived to have done out there in the startup world. Really, success can be anything for you. So ground yourself in that, and then go forward with curiosity and confidence. I think one thing that took me a long time to develop was my confidence in the business world, especially being a young female founder as well. But I think I've developed that, and as soon as I was able to demonstrate that, the business was in a better place as well. And additionally, I would say have really clear values and pick something that is meaningful to you, and that should be tethered and coupled to that success piece, right? I would have quit Banqer a million times over if it wasn't so meaningful to me and I didn't care about the cause behind it, because business and startups are really hard no matter what industry you're in. So if you don't care about it, if you don't have some purpose greater than just profit, for me at least, I don't think that's what it's about, and I don't think that's what success would be for me. So yeah, articulate what success means to you, find purpose that will point towards that success, and be curious and confident.
Great advice. I think we've got time for probably a couple more questions.
Cool.
There are a couple that are quite similar, so I might put them together. One from a teacher who says they never learned about money at school. How can I get the kids that I teach interested in money? And a similar question from a parent who asks, how do I get my 14-year-old daughter interested in investing and saving?
Yeah, great partai. Firstly, I would say to that person who had never learned about money in school, you're absolutely normal. I hear that so often, and I think there are entire generations who never got the financial education they deserve. So I think it's amazing that you're now thinking about changing that for the next generation. That's an extremely powerful gift that you can give to your students. Although it's hard, like it's an extra responsibility for a teacher. Thankfully, there are some awesome in-school solutions. This isn't a shameless plug for Banqer. In fact, it's more sharing the ecosystem that exists beyond Banqer. So we've got the likes of Sorted in Schools, which is a fantastic program that allows teachers to incorporate financial education into their curricula regardless of the subject they teach as well. So that's great. It becomes contextualised in English or whatever it may be. And there's the likes of Young Enterprise Trusts as well, who I would say make financial education really tangible because they bring it to life through enterprise, through, starting a small business. And I won't go through the whole list, but there's a really strong ecosystem with great tools and solutions for an educator. I would say, though, try and if you can, over the years, because it might take many years, try and integrate it into your curriculum. Don't make your curriculum work around it, because you'll have a fantastic local curriculum that will suit the needs of your students, and it will speak to your subjects and what your community needs. So ideally, you find a tool, and then it has to work for your local curriculum versus the other way around. Because I think some of our schools, the real success story is the ones who embed it in what they've already got versus a bolt-on. And I think the home and the school thing really have to work in tandem. So, Riss, I think it's great you ask these questions together. We can learn about money, about all the financial concepts we want in the school gates. But if we go home and we're not able to continue that conversation, or we see contradictory behaviour to what we're learning, that can be really difficult for a child or a student to reconcile. So at home is just as important. And that can be a little harder. There aren't as many resources around. So my high-level advice generally is to meet your student in the world that they're in, which is often one of, fast content, 30-second videos, instant gratification, and build bridges to the skills and capability they need to thrive in the financial world, which is a bit more delayed gratification, taking our time to consider us. And I think the way I've seen that done really successfully is by going with your student through their social accounts and adding, really credible sources of financial information. Like I think of Frances Cook, she's got some amazing content. There's some awesome money podcasts on Insta. There's a lot of not influencers, but actual credible sources. And even on TikTok, there's a bunch of good financial commentators there too. But what we also need to have is goals and structure and all that good stuff. And I can't say what's right for your whānau, but for us in our household, it's a medium-term horizon, a shorter-term horizon, and the long-term horizon. And that can really help if your students coming up to the age where a car might be coming into their 3-year plan. How can we break that down so we are saving for that? Or how can we use a tool together like Sharesies or Hatch, whatever it may be, and wrap some life lessons around that and talk about it over the dinner table. So there's a heap of fun stuff in there, and I'm excited that you're asking that question because it means you're invested, and that's going to mean so many good things for your child's future.
All right, one final question, the $1 million question, or rather the $2,000 question. Now, we asked the students and teachers to answer this question in 3 minutes, but I'm going to ask you to see if you can answer it in 30 seconds or less. Why does money matter?
Money matters because it enables us to do what we want, what we need, and to help and support others. I heard this awesome saying that money is the sixth sense, and the superpower of this sense is that it heightens all the others. People say money doesn't matter. People say it does matter. I think it shouldn't be thought of like that. I think it's a tool, it's an empowerer, it's an enabler. And when we think about what it can do for us and our whānau and actually the generations that come after us, that's what I get really excited about. So I really encourage everyone to learn the language of the tool of money and then apply it in whatever way makes sense for you and your whānau and your future.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much, Kendall. I hope that everyone watching got something of value out of that Q&A.